We actually met in Chicago at a day party. It was about 5 years ago. It was called Studio Paris. It was a really cool day party spot that we met. And it was almost like serendipity because I had been in Charlotte to meet with a mutual friend or a college friend for a birthday party. And I was there and I ended up meeting another girl that was originally from Chicago, but she was an event manager that was hosting an event in Chicago about, like 2 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
And she invited me to this party. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever, I'll go. And it ended up being a really great day because I met this guy. I always say I have a different story, but my story is that he saw me from afar. Like, I mean, how can you miss me, right? But he saw me from afar, and he came up and we just started talking, and it was like a long conversation that ended up being a longer conversation. What would you say?
No, I can still remember the moment. I think about the magnetism, two individuals walking towards each other. I can still remember the moment that we made eye contact. We both saw each other, and immediately we sort of stopped in our tracks and took in one another. And the rest is to make a long story short. We picked things up from there, and it's like ever since day one, we've been going hard. And that's,
and it was
almost 5 years now. 5 years now.
Yeah, it's been 5 years since we met, but he was actually in Charlotte to connect the dots. He was in
Oh,
Charlotte like the weekend before that I was to see his friend.
Right.
And the same person that invited me to the day party invited him to the day party. So it was very interesting that like we crossed paths the way that we did.
So the forces of the universe certainly brought us
for
together,
sure.
and there's
For
no
sure.
doubt about that. And we've been going strong ever since.
Oh, yeah. A long 5 years. No, I'm kidding. A lot can occur in 5 years. You feel like it's a short amount of time, but definitely a lot can occur in 5 years.
Right.
When did you know it was real and how you wanted to be with him or her, and that you knew you wanted to be with him or her?
Yeah. I'm not really a big believer in love at first sight, but this is damn sure as close as it gets. As I mentioned before, since day one, we had a connection and bond, and we were connected on so many different levels that it didn't take very long. Our first date was magnetic. So yeah, that's how.
Yeah, I would say I knew that it was real. For me, being the type of woman that I am, super independent and not really wanting to let anyone in my space, I definitely realized that it was real when I was open to letting him be in my space. And, it took some time for sure, but, he was at my apartment like all the time, number one. Number two, after being at my apartment for so long, I remember wanting to give him a key. And I was like, who is this person, like wanting to give a key out? But I gave him the key. We had a conversation about it, and I ended up giving him the key. But I think one of the biggest moments for me where I really knew that it was real was when, and I think we talked about this before, of course, but we had spent like a long date night together, and I think I had to go to some event super early in the morning, and it was probably like 11 o'clock in the morning when I got back, and I called him and he didn't answer the phone, and I texted him and he didn't answer the phone. And I'm not like that crazy girl, but I was just like, I really need to talk to him before I'm able to like take my nap for the day.
I was just trying to get some sleep, y'all.
And I was like, why isn't he answering the phone? And it almost felt like, oh my gosh, like I really feel like if I don't talk to him, like my day is kind of discombobulated. So that was a big moment for me, besides the fact with me being willing to give him the key and being in my space for sure.
Well, I definitely remember getting the key. That was a big deal. The other thing that I would add, I think we had been through so many situations that weren't ideal for us, so we definitely knew what we didn't like, and when we saw each other, we were able to pick that up right away, that we're made for each other, and we have so much in common. And
yeah, for sure.
like I said, the rest is history.
Yeah, I agree.